Good morning, everyone. So today we're talking about ministry, if you haven't figured that out yet. And I'd like to open with a Turkish proverb that was brought up by Doug the other day in our meeting. That's a really great one. He that speaks truth must have one foot in the stirrup. So I say this because after I say a few truthful but maybe somewhat dry words about the Shared Ministry Committee, what we're about and what we've been up to, I will then be able to ride off into the sunset on my horse, or at least the back row, and we'll have the honor of hearing from fellow committee member and retired UU minister Dillman Sorrells about her perspective on shared ministry, and I'm really excited to hear that. What is shared ministry? So to distill that reading from Gordon McKeeman, shared ministry is how we care about each other and how we nurture healthy relationships. We can view our shared ministry on several levels, including on the individual level, between small groups, the whole congregation, and to the wider community. Of course, our professional minister is actively involved at all levels, and in some ways is the central cog to our shared ministry. But it's not just about the minister. You know, there are a lot of aspects of UUFC life that add to ministry. Think the care committee, for example. Covenant groups, which is a huge strength in our particular church's ministry, and other small group ministries such as meditation group or other interest groups. Then there's religious education, which is our sort of intergenerational ministry, our ministry to the future, and their ministry right back to us. And then we have social justice efforts as ministry to the wider community. Shared ministry speaks to both our second UU principle, which is justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, and also our sixth principle, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. Okay, so I see our shared ministry as this big, complex machine with many parts. We're all working together, and the job of our committee, the Shared Ministry Committee, is to monitor this machine and keep it running smoothly to the best we are able to. Keep the different parts working well with each other. And of course, one of the most important driving cogs of the machine is our professional minister, Terry Bailoff. And so, you know, we should pay special attention to that part of the ministry, but as well, we'd like to be in touch with all parts of the ministry and how we're interacting. However, by tapping in at the point of the minister, we can get a good hold as to what's going on in different parts of this machine. Consulting the UUFC bylaws, we can see that the main job of our committee, the Shared Ministry Committee, is strengthening the quality of ministry in the UUFC. This is listed in our bylaws, and that's what I see as our core task. We also have some practical tasks that are listed in the UUFC bylaws, which are to meet monthly with the minister, annually assess the shared ministry of the congregation, and make ministerial compensation and contractual recommendations to the Board of Trustees. So, you know, I've only been on the Shared Ministry Committee for a little over a year now, and I can say that about all of us. And so we're still trying to get a sense of, you know, how we can accomplish our mission, strengthening the quality of ministry in the UUFC. And over the time that we've been in session, we have been able to do some of these core tasks. So we've been getting our feet on the ground and attending to these core tasks. Our central activity has been meeting monthly with Terry. And these are really informative meetings. We sit down, and generally Terry is able to give us an update on what she sees going on in the congregation, often things that are going on behind the scenes that not many people maybe know about, but they're important issues. Our congregation is made up of so many individuals and relationships that each month can bring new or ongoing issues for us to monitor and address. These can range from pastoral issues to interpersonal conflicts to wider trends of congregational life. And importantly, anything that we discuss at these meetings or in our communications regarding particular individuals or groups are kept in strict confidentiality between the committee and minister. This is very important to establish trust in our committee as the monitor behind this machine. So these issues come up, and Terry informs us of them, and in many cases, you know, there's not much for our committee to do. But even when we do not do action on an issue per se, in our conversation, we do provide support to Terry in her efforts to rightly minister to the congregation. And I believe we play a vital role in supporting her as she tries to resolve issues, and supporting other congregational members as they work through issues. Beyond these monthly meetings, we've been performing other important tasks, such as we did perform a ministerial evaluation. It's kind of ad hoc at the last minute, but we did do that, and through that, we're able to make recommendations to the board regarding ministerial compensation. And we are focused at the current time on improving our methods, establishing more formal methods for the coming year. For example, we have instigated a more comprehensive shared ministry evaluation process, which will get started in May. We'll send out assessment forms to key congregational leaders, gather information from various sources, and use that over the summer to come up with more accurate ministerial assessment. And that ministerial assessment is not only an assessment of the minister, but of the shared ministry of our community. It's really about this shared sense of ministry. Okay, so let me now return to our main goals, as I mentioned before. It's actually in our bylaws. The main goal of the Shared Ministry Committee is to strengthen the quality of ministry at UUFC. Well, that's kind of a tall order, and it's not immediately obvious to me how to do that. How do we strengthen the quality of ministry at UUFC? And the one thing that I wanted to emphasize today is that, so we have some ideas for how to strengthen the quality of ministry at UUFC, but the Shared Ministry Committee is not alone in this task. The nice thing is that in order to make progress towards this goal of strengthening the quality of ministry at UUFC, we require buy-in from the congregation. Now, that's because the key to strengthening our ministry is to establish a culture of open communication. This is really, really important. We need open communication, even and especially in times of conflict. And I think, the lessons of even our history tell us that, give us that lesson. Many festering conflicts can be attributed to a lack of direct communication, perhaps due to triangulation, which is, maybe one party spreading rumors or gossip behind backs, or it could be parties hiding under anonymity. Instead, using direct and open communication, rooted in a sense of respect for each other's inherent dignity, another of our principles, offers the most direct path to mutual understanding and resolution. So one of our main reasons to take the stage today and run this service is to get this message across that we need open communication from the congregation in order to accomplish our goal of strengthening the quality of ministry. And we're also here to increase our visibility as agents to facilitate this open communication. So as Ed mentioned, we'll be here after the service in the library for you to talk to us. And generally, one or another of us is going to be around any given Sunday. And if ever any issues come up, you're welcome to talk with us. And if you ever have a concern regarding our shared ministry, and we'll do our best to open the appropriate channels of communication. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Dillman Baker Sorrells, who will give us a much more personal sense of the importance of a shared ministry committee in the life of a church. Dillman?
I'm handicapped by height. So there. Now I can see over the pulpit. The minister and the board asked me to serve on this committee because I've had several roles here over the years as an active lay member for many years, long ago as a divinity school student, and then this congregation ordained me, and now as a member and a minister who's retired from other congregations. As minister, I've worked in a lot of congregations, served 2 congregations full-time for 20 years, and served as a chaplain in hospital for 2 different times. So I've looked at such committees from different perspectives. First of all, our goal, not just the goal of this committee, but the whole membership is to create and sustain a healthy congregation in which each of us grows as religious and ethical people. A healthy congregation requires us all to be honest with each other, respectful, open, and what we might have called as children, willing to play by the rules. I think ministry, both of the minister and the ministry that we all share with Terry, is enormously aided by a sound committee on shared ministry. You heard us read that splendid piece on ministry. Terry asked us to read that today. You may have heard it also in her installation. So it's very important to her. We have to carry on our heritage, local and beyond. We have to be present with each other in the good times and as well as the bad times. We have to celebrate milestones with each other. We speak for those with no voice. And we maintain hope in the toughest of times, either personally, communally, or globally. You and I share that responsibility as members of this congregation, just as we share those responsibilities with Terry. Our UU ministers are trained to do these things, but we congregants have to do it as well. We trust each other to do our tasks here, not do somebody else's task, give others a chance, and let's thank each other when we see something done. We have to call each other into question at times, and we don't triangulate, as Nate said. We honor the worth of each person as we honor the community and how we function together. This committee is to see that we maintain this congregation as healthy. You may not think of what you do here as ministry, but think about the words we just sang together. When I am frightened, will you reassure me? When I am troubled, will you listen to me? If you show me compassion, then I will learn to care as you do. That's ministry. You're ministering to each other. So the charge on this committee is to support the minister, just as we support the ministry that we offer to each other. Always remember, when you speak about concerns about ministry, remember this is a democratic institution. That means that decisions may not suit everyone. Democracy is so messy. We don't always get our way. But I think we're here because we want to be the best people we can be. And here we can be ourselves as long as we're respectful to each other. And we develop our best selves through service to the group and to individuals, and by growing spiritually and ethically. I think of the great benefits of belonging here. Our children were brought up by the folks in this congregation. Yes, it was a different generation, but how glad I am that they had a whole bunch of folks who cared about them, who ministered to them, who accepted them. That was wonderful. We had no families anywhere near. This was our support system. And it's a grand place for each of us to grow as a human being. I didn't intend to do this, but as I dressed this morning, I put this little gold chalice on. This chalice was given to me when I moved away in 1970. And somehow or another, this has been part of our moving back to Clemson 2 more times. But never underestimate the power of what we do for each other. The committee asked me to talk about my own experiences with a shared ministry committee. The committees I worked with had pretty much the same charge that you heard Nate discuss. As a parish minister, I found that committee to be absolutely a lifesaver. It gave me a forum in which I could go to ask questions. I could speak freely, knowing that whatever we spoke about would be held in confidence. And I could learn from their collective wisdom. For example, when I realized that one service didn't serve our congregation well because there was no place for the latecomers to sit, and I went to the Committee on Ministry first and discussed my concerns with them. We needed 2 Sunday morning services. Lots of people don't like change. It causes a lot of work. But it's needed as congregations grow. Because of the wisdom and experience of the 3 people on that committee, I approached them with this huge problem. They recommended I talk to the board, to the staff, to the Sunday Services Committee, to the building committee, to the finance people, and get their ideas and see how this might impact everyone. I heard all the reasons it wouldn't work, of course. Don't we always, when we suggest something new, well, we've never done it like that. It won't work. But somebody thought it would, besides me, and everyone worked together and made it happen. Plans and so forth. 5 months later, we had 2 Sunday morning services, and we grew by leaps and bounds. There then was room for everybody to sit down at once. It was wonderful. I couldn't have done that without the help of that committee, their suggestions, their wisdom, their experience. I had just gotten there. I was a new minister in that congregation, and they could help that. No minister can make a huge and necessary change without the congregation wanting that change. No minister can make a congregation grow or become more vibrant unless the congregation is willing to do so and will make it happen. And I see that happening here. I see it Sunday mornings. I see it in the activities that go on here. And I'm grateful to see that in this congregation. After all, it was just John Keneally and his wife and about how many? 10 others when I joined. We met in the Y with the dirty Coke cans and pizza boxes. This is a lot better. This is a lot better. Another time I consulted the committee, far more painful, was a situation where there was a person who displayed disruptive behavior, inappropriate behavior. I went to the committee and described what I'd seen. They gave their recommendations, which I took to the board, and a decision was made on how to proceed. Sometimes we have enabled disruptive behavior among us, as often happens in a loving congregation. Decisions that are hard to make must nevertheless be made, and they must be made thoughtfully with the appropriate people involved. It's important that this committee meets regularly, as Nate said, monthly, to keep abreast of what's going on. I'm grateful for the committee that's helped me, and I'm grateful that we have such a committee here. Remember when you celebrate the arrival of these babies, 2 of them back there? Take food to the sick, greet each other on Sunday morning, laugh at a meeting, listen as someone rants over some blip in their life, or thank somebody for the flowers out in the garden or food at the social hour. That is ministry. In Bucky McKeeman's words, wherever there's a meeting that summons us to our better selves, wherever our lostness is found, our fragments are united, our wounds begin healing, there is ministry. Terry does this as a calling. We do it as a part of something that is important to us. Are we doing our part to create a healthy congregation? Ask yourself, are you? And let me tell you, it is far more fun to be part of a healthy congregation than any other kind. So let's help each other to achieve this health. And we'll sing now, Wake Now My Senses. Now this is a long one, 5 verses. And Terry asked us to sing this because it's a special ministry one, written by a minister, Thomas Michelson, for another colleague, for her ordination. And it tells us what to do as ministers and as ministers in the pews.